Hello, hello. Greetings, I am Pat626. You probably know me as the host of Subculture Shock, Sunday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern on Twitch. So I came back into the fold. 2017 was when I started DJing again, and pretty close to when I started, I picked up a fantastic single called Stardust from Dissonance, and I have been a huge Star Stuff, and I have been a huge fan of Dissonance ever since, and I'm really happy because tonight I have gotten for the first time to meet Cat Hall, who is now in the virtual studio with me. How's it going, Cat?
I am doing just fine. How are you?
Even though I misnamed your song because Stardust is always easier to remember.
It is easier to remember, but I think of Carl Sagan, Star Stuff. That's what we're made
That's
of.
fair. And I have to say, I'm really embarrassed that I got that wrong because I love that song. I remember just hearing it and playing the absolute hell out of it when it first came out. Because not only is it like, you don't get a lot of very upbeat, like almost triumphant dance floor songs in our genre. So it was nice to get one of those.
Yeah, it was at the insistence of the amazing Jim Marcus that we had an upbeat song on the EP because, I mean, honestly, I usually write dark.
I hadn't noticed.
Yeah, yeah. At least, if not like completely dark, at least, dim. It's, not altogether dark, but for the most part, dark. And, Jim was talking with me as we were working on the production of the EP. And he was like, I like to have at least one song that's uplifting. And I like to have it at the end of the album because, you don't want to leave people in just such a down mood. And I was like, well, I can try. And he did the music for Star Stuff. And, that the music was such that it just made the lyrics and the melody very easy. I popped off with that, and, he already had the name Star Stuff. And I was like, well, all right, there we go. So it kind of wrote itself.
Neat.
Nifty.
Nifty.
A nice little nugget.
Oh, it's a nice story. I like it very much. So I want to talk more about that, but then I would get ahead of myself because fans of this show know that I always like to start off with what I call the supervillain origin story. And you thought you weren't going to do that laugh tonight.
I had to.
Yeah. You did. No, you honestly, that is the best supervillain laugh on Subculture Talk so far. So congratulations.
I might do it again later on.
Let's go. I'm here for it.
All right.
So how did you even get into listening to this type of music, let alone making it? Like what brought you to the fold of dark alternative music?
I was kind of a club kid growing up. I was in high school when I got my first fake ID. I think all of us were. And at the tender age of, I think, 16, I started going out to the clubs. And that would have been in about 86, 87. And I just really loved dance floor stuff. And of course, that was the magical time when we were just beginning to get the beautiful stuff coming out of Wax Trax, and the Die Warsaw, the Front 242. You had Ministry that was amping into their new sound away from their synthpop Halloween. So everything was kind of cooking, and I loved it all. I mean, I was also diehard into New Order and the Pet Shop Boys and Information Society. Information Society, of course, dear to my heart because, I'm on Paul Rob's record label. So, and they gave me a chance to do my thing and kind of taught me how to do it. So, that's kind of how I got into it was just because I really just discovered, going out and going dancing. I wasn't really so much of a drinker. I really, actually even today, I maybe have one drink once a month, maybe. It's never been a big thing for me, but I just love the music. I'd never really heard much like it when I was growing up. My parents were very into music. I mean, they insisted that I, take voice lessons and be in choir because my father was a pretty accomplished tenor. He had a beautiful voice, and when I started showing an interest and singing, they pretty much supported it and said, whatever you want to do, as long as you have good grades, that's all I care about. So that's where that started. Although they didn't really like it when I came home at 4 a.m. from, yeah, at 16. They were like, we thought you were dead somewhere, on the side of the road.
No, I was just dancing like I was dead.
That's
it's
right.
Okay. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
We have Precious Ken in chat. Of course.
Precious Ken. Precious Ken.
Ken Magerman saying that he loves you.
I love you, Ken. I love you.
Everybody loves Ken.
Rightfully so.
Yeah,
because
lovable dude.
He is precious. Little chick, I want to just. I love you, Ken. Thank you for tuning in.
You see, now I'm imagining you actually pinching Ken Magerman's cheeks.
Oh, I've never met Ken in person, but I feel like I know Ken. I love Ken.
I now realize that those are pinchable cheeks. Like I hadn't even thought about it. Yeah, wow.
He's precious. It's an apt name.
Also, apparently, Ken just scooped you. He says that you are doing a vocal collab on the upcoming Amaranth album.
Yes, I was wondering when that was going to come out. Ken, I was wondering if you'd forgotten about my little contribution,
well,
but
apparently we can talk about it now. Yeah, no, we have permission. He just the cat is literally out of the bag and in the virtual studio right now.
Well, I'm very excited that it will see the light of day. Thank you, Ken.
So you were getting into it. You were going out dancing, and your parents, which is really cool that your parents kind of supported you singing. How did they feel, when you started making like this kind of music, and what drove you to make dark alternative music?
Oh, I've never been one to write when I've been in a good mood or happy. Usually it's an outlet for me. I have clinical depression, which I know several people do. I manage it, but one of the ways that I manage it is by, and I should say that I've had it since my teens. I've had it pretty much forever. So I just use lyric writing and singing as an outlet, and I find that that's healthier than some other alternatives. But yeah, I mean, it's something that my parents, I don't think they ever really dove into the lyrics, so much, because I think my parents came from an era where depression wasn't really talked about all that much. Even though my father suffered from it and his mother suffered from it, it was just something that, you tolerated and you pretended like it wasn't there. And which is really sad. And I'm so glad that we're at a place now where it is more acceptable to be vulnerable and, work on your problems, because that's the only way that some of us can survive, is by basically admitting it and getting help. And I've had, therapy sessions off and on throughout my life. And generally my what I think of as my best writing really comes when I am really down in it, really not having a good day. And, that has come from um, relationships that don't work so well, long-term relationships. You sometimes have friends that you wish that you could be closer to, or you feel like you could do so much if you were on the same page, and you're not on the same page. And that's just, it's life, right?
Yeah, I mean, to paraphrase the movie Crossroads, good music is just about good people feeling bad.
Yeah, that's good. I like
Yeah,
that.
like
It's
and
very, very appropriate.
yeah. Which along those lines, do you find that once you've written a song, when you're in that deep dark place, is it just catharsis? At least you got something out of it, or do you find that it actually helps you feel better once you've gotten those emotions out?
Most of my down in it lyrics, if you read through some of the, I've actually posted all of the lyrics on our Bandcamp pages. I
Yep.
know that a lot of our releases are digital now, as opposed to physical releases, so you can't really look at the liner notes.
I miss the liner notes
I know,
days.
right? Yeah. But you can go to the Bandcamp page and look up the lyrics. And usually I try in my mind and in the lyrics to come to some sort of resolution. There's usually an uptick towards the end, or some kind of, um, I don't know, if not hope, then at least persistence. Um, so that's kind of a note to myself, hang in there. Maybe not everything that you have done is wasted. Um, at least you tried. This, I think these are feelings that we all um, have frequently. And I've had people, it's been very rewarding. I've had, just periodically, people will send me a message, and they'll be like, I listened to your music and it made me feel better. It made me feel like I wasn't alone, or it made me feel like, I can relate. And that is, you know, so affirming. Um, it really makes it worthwhile to me. Um, then there are albums like Void, which is pretty much the depths of despair for me. I had one listener tell me that they wouldn't purchase it because they didn't want to slit their wrists.
Whew.
And it is a dark album. I was in a very dark place. It just, you know, wasn't a happy time for me in 2016 and 17. I was going through a time from 2013 on. My father had a brain injury
Oof.
and was declining.
Yeah.
And that was very, very stressful on me, on my husband, on our marriage. Um, I was just grasping at straws. Uh, Void is not necessarily about my father, but it's just about me, my mental state during that time. Um, it's just one of those things where you basically have a catharsis. You spit up all the emotions. And I was working with somebody at the time, Justin Burning. I had not worked with him before. um, Dissonance was at a turning point when I wrote Void. I had written my first album, self-titled Dissonance, and my second one, titled Reincarnate, with David Sabrend. And he began Ascent with me, which was released in 2019.
Right.
But halfway through the project, life got in the way, and he couldn't complete it. And I was kind of at a loss, because I was like, David's pretty much the only person that I've written with. I don't really know what to do. I'm not finished yet. I want to continue writing. And so I decided, well, I'm just going to start out by looking for people to co-write with, because I am a lyricist vocalist. I write melodies, I write lyrics, but I do not do the music side. That's
Okay.
not my specialty. My specialty is voice and stacking vocals and writing really, really dark and depressing lyrics.
But you do it
So,
so well.
well, thank you very much. So I went on a music producer board on Facebook, and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for somebody that wants vocals on something, and maybe if you like, we can release it." And I came across Justin Burning, and he had just recently finished an instrumental album, and it was void but without any vocals. And so he just said, "Hey, if you want to play with this, go for it." So he sent me, all of the tracks, and I actually, we chewed through those pretty quickly. I think I was doing about, finishing one every 2 or 3 days, and we got that done, which is pretty amazing when you listen to the album with the. I mean, I stacked something like 40 to 60 layers of vocals on each track, and the harmonies are pretty complex. So, but I was motivated. I was inspired by the space that I was in, and Justin was fantastic. He, the instrumentation that he did. He did insist that we do a cover. We did do a Joy Division track,
As you
which,
do.
as you do, yeah. I mean, I have to say, and this isn't going to be very popular with a lot of people, but I've never been a huge Joy Division fan. I think largely because they were so depressing a lot of the time, and so it wasn't very danceable. I think
Right.
that was why I never really, But we did a cover of. I'm having a brain fart now. The song name is gone. Anyway, it's a very popular Joy Division track, and if you look at Void, it's on there. So I think it turned out pretty well. So that's how I started working with Justin, and Justin also did work with me on the next couple of singles that I did for Precipice, and I think he worked with me on Ephemeral and also on. Uh, Long COVID.
Long COVID.
Long COVID. Anyway, he did Trials. That's the name of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he worked with me on the next three singles, and that's when I kind of had the idea that I was just going to reach out to a bunch of people and just say, "Hey, I've loved the idea of maxi singles since the dance floor days, and I really." Like the 12-inch singles that you would get that would have 8 different remixes of the same song. And, you know, I wanted to do one a little bit different. I wanted all of the remixes to be completely different from the original song. So what I did is I just sent the vocal stems to some friends who do remixes, and I was like, you know, write your own music with it, do whatever you want to with it, make it different. I said I'll send you the original finished song, if you want to hear a jumping off spot. But most people didn't want that. They really wanted to, work with the raw vocals and create something new. And so the singles really kind of came about. And at the time also, I was introduced to Glenn Kirshner, who is now one of my solid co-writers and remixers. And what a blessing that has been. He's done remixes for me on a number of things. Also further down, I was introduced to Melody Whore, James Reyna, and we hit it off just like nobody's business. I mean,
I have to fan B for a second too because Damage is just such a great fucking song. That
I knew something special was there because I was on the radio show that Safira V and James do together, Melody Whore do together, and we were talking, and I was bemoaning the fact that I needed more people to write with me. I needed something more because Justin had already moved on to doing his own thing, which is more
what they
power
do.
to him,
Yep.
like they do. And, I had worked with Jim Marcus on Ascent, and that was done. And so, he just kind of quietly said, I'm waiting for you to ask me to be in Dissonance. And I was like, done, let's do
Let's
it. So
go.
he sent me, I told him, I said, send me, some kind of sexy groove, send me some kind of, evil, grungy, fucked up, something. And Damage is what came about.
God,
And
you want to talk about just fucked up too.
yeah, yeah.
Like that's one of the few songs that like you because you normally have just such a very beautiful ephemeral voice, and you let it get ugly in that song, and it works. It
Yeah.
really works.
Well, I'll tell you a story about that. A couple of years ago, pretty much one of my habits has been to send everything that I work on, good and bad, to Kurt Larson, who's the singer in Information Society. And
Ken was asking me to talk to you about Information Society, so thank you
right.
for the segue.
Yeah, I sent it to him just because I've known Kurt and Paul and Jim, although not Jim quite as much, but I've known Kurt and Paul since I was 17, and they're the ones that inspired me to do pretty much what I do, whether they meant to or not. That's
All right, hold on, time out. How did you get in tight with Information Society at the age of 17?
Oh, I was a fangirl. Big fan, big fan. I wrote a letter, when I was bored. I was in high school. I was bored. It was Christmas break. I wrote a stupid fan letter, and Kurt got it. And he called me on the
Oh
phone.
my God.
Yeah. And talk about shitting your pants. I was just like, ah! I was like, I grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana. And when you get
Sorry, I laugh because I know someone from there, and he says it's terrible.
Well, it wasn't always so. There are some terrible things about it, but it was okay for growing up. It was all right. My parents taught at the university there, and so there were some aspects that were all right. But pretty much the people in Shreveport don't sound like the people from Minneapolis and Minnesota. And when I started playing our answer, we had an answering machine with a cassette tape in it, way back in
I had
days.
one of those.
Yeah, and so I'm playing the message, and there's a voice that I recognized, and it was not local. So anyway, I basically got invited to a show, and I drove across the country to go, and just a friendship sort of started, and basically, they would be patient and listen to, actually Kurt, I should say, would be patient and listen, because I didn't know Paul very well at the time. So that's how I got into the habit of doing this. And Kurt, I've always considered to be my friend that I don't use a filter with. I just talk. It's just, stream of consciousness, which sometimes works and sometimes pisses him off, and gets me into trouble, because sometimes you really need to think about what you're saying to some people. But anyway, we have a relationship where I send everything to him. I forgot where I was going with this.
So we were talking about the vocals in Damage.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
And how ugly they are.
How ugly they are. Essentially, Kurt had mentioned a couple of times, why don't you have a strong voice, why don't you shout more? And I thought, really? It's not really occurred to me. I actually did a little bit of it in the Ascent album on Break Myself.
Right.
And I think that's where he noticed that it sounded really pretty good. And so I took a page from that book, and I just decided, yeah, let's do some of this. And so it was just kind of exploring another aspect of my voice, which I hadn't really worked on in that way. I had a little bit on my very first album with a track called Want, but I hadn't really focused on it or made it, my style.
Right.
So that's where that came from. And I've always wanted to do some more industrial tinged work, and that's exactly what you need. So that's what I started doing. So you get, 8 layers of screaming, 8 to 10 layers of screaming, and then you do another 10 layers of singing in key behind the screaming, and then you do harmonies behind that, and you put it all together, and that's what Cat does.
See, now, hearing that part, just that I can't be near you, I would not have imagined there was so much complexity in that, but it makes sense because it's such a thick, guttural sound.
Yeah, it's not done. I mean, there are some effects on it, but it sounded that way before the effects were put on it, because it's the choir of Cat. It's literally just stacked and stacked and stacked and stacked and stacked.
So basically, dissonance. If I had to sum up dissonance in a hashtag, it would be hashtag stacks on stacks.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
You could say that.
Let's
Vocal
go.
wise. Yeah.
That's your next dissonance t-shirt right there. Stacks on stacks.
Stacks on stacks. Fuck yeah.
Let's go. So I do think I just to beat a dead horse on this one, I think one of the reasons that I like that too, you don't do a lot of screaming, but it works because I think there are a lot of bands out there where the screaming almost sounds fake. You can tell.
Yeah.
But this is not a person that has just had to scream into the void before.
Right. I've listened to a lot of the screaming tracks, which I call fondly the Cookie Monster vocals. And I like the emotion behind it, but at the same time, it's not something that I would necessarily choose to listen to on an ongoing basis, because I personally like melody. I like harmonies, and I also like to be able to understand all of the lyrics, and I am a fool with enunciation. If you can't understand what they're saying, what's the point of saying it? So,
you had choir instruction like I did.
I did.
Yeah, no,
yes.
it's so funny. I actually will quote unquote screw up lyrics when I sing along, because I refuse to say without chew. I always say without you, because my vocal teacher would smack us with rulers if we did the chew sound.
It's one thing if you're doing it stylistically. I can get that. I can appreciate a lot of rap and a lot of hip hop. I get that. I like it. I've actually done a little tiny bit of work, and am looking forward to doing some more work with Melody Whore on one of his side projects, which is it's a rapper, and he's great. Right. And I've done some backing vocals for that, but I let the rapper do the stylistic stuff. It's not me, if you want Cat on something, you want Cat. You don't want something else, which might be a reason that, a lot of people don't co-write with me, because
they just don't know what's good.
Well, I think a lot of it also is they're like, what the hell am I going to do with 60 tracks of vocals? It's from a production standpoint, it can be daunting. One of my dear friends and frequent coworkers, John Von Herman, he's like, yeah, there's lots of layers. There's always lots of layers, So, but he's a trooper, and he always comes through, and it sounds fabulous. He's another one that does a lot of remixes for me. I can't thank these people enough, because without them, there wouldn't be a dissonance.
I think it works though, and I mean, yeah, that sounds a bit daunting, but that's also innovation is daunting.
If you're looking for the specific sound that I deliver, that's the only way to really do it.
Yeah.
because you're not going to achieve the same thing with effects. You can try, but you're always going to be able to tell that it's not just the person. You can always tell that that's affected on there.
Right.
There's a much more organic sound the way I do it, even if you put in effects in post. That's just
Well, because every time you're doing it, like if you use effects, if you use a chorus effect, even as it's changing the pitch and the verve of everything, like every single one of those effects is going to have the color in the exact same place.
exactly
They're going to have like, but no matter how perfect of a vocalist you are, your vibratos are going to be in slightly different places in each take, and that's what gives it that choirful sound.
right, right. It has kind of a bzzz to it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, it's a bunch of insects all in a cage together. I mean, just
Thank
making
you.
beautiful music.
I'm a bug.
Ah, see, and all I can think of now is, I guess that would bug some producers. I'm so funny. There we go. We got another one of those.
There it is.
Yeah. All right. So, we've been talking about the vocal side of it, but to get a little bit back to the lyrics, because this is the Thinks Too Much channel, and I am an English major at heart. When you write these deep personal albums like Void, for instance, where just superbly depressing, once you're hopefully out of that spot, I say hopefully because sometimes since 2020 it seems like it never ends.
Right. Right.
But when you have, at least respites, your high points, are you able to revisit those albums, or is that only something that you can really touch when you're in that dark place?
I'll tell you, after I wrote Void, I listened to it initially when it came out and made sure that I liked it, for what it is.
Because you gotta.
And then I put it away because I could not stand listening to it because it hurt.
Yeah.
And it is, the most raw album I've ever done.
Right.
And I think also one of the most painfully beautiful albums I've ever done. I still think some of the best harmony work I've ever done is in Get Through. It just kind of weaves itself together and is very hypnotic when all of the parts come in. Just recently, I want to say maybe 3 months ago, I listened to it again, and I find that I'm able to listen to it now.
Okay.
Without like flipping out. So, but
now that you're further removed from that situation.
Well, sometimes it's just, you pick off a scab, when you revisit it, and that's something that's probably not ever going to really heal if we don't leave it alone.
Yeah.
So,
well,
leave it alone, cat.
So again, to think too much about it, what is the purpose? Like, do you think the only purpose of albums like that is for the artist, the artist that needs to get out those feelings, or can they serve a purpose for the listener as well?
Oh yeah, that's what I was referring to. It was with Void that I've gotten the most comments from people that say that they can relate to it, and it means something to them that someone was able to put into words and music what they were going through or what they were feeling. Because let's face it, everybody has relationships, everybody has friendships, everybody has, people that they have longings for, and it doesn't always work out happily. And one thing that I also do, thinking about, I don't want everybody to think that I'm so miserable in my life today. Um, because honestly, sometimes if I want to write something, like we have a new album coming out.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
yes, new album is still being held by the master, Paul Robb. I sent it to him, and sometime in the near future, he was doing some shows in the Dominican Republic with Information Society, and so now that he is back on U.S. soil, um, at some point in the next couple of weeks, I should be getting the masters from him for our newest album. But what I generally do is I just kind of take my mind back to a place where I can get in that mode. And, it's just kind of like reminiscing about a bad dream. You just kind of get yourself in that spot, and then you can remember and you can write something that is your style. So I don't have to be in the depths of misery, although, that is where I get some of the best stuff from. But like for example, Damage and Slow Burn, I perfectly happy,
Yeah.
working with Yimmy, my best bud. Um, just, you just got to put yourself in a place where you're in your writing mode.
So, as someone with mental illness, I also have pretty chronic depression. Um, from that perspective, do you personally ever feel like it's kind of dangerous to put yourself back in to that mode when you're writing? Like, do you find that sometimes when you're writing, you kind of get stuck in that mode for a little longer than you were expecting? You leave the studio and it's still with you and you have to decompress a bit?
No,
Or,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah, that's when you go outside and you take a long walk.
okay.
For me, if I go into nature, and I can sit next to a creek, or I can walk through the woods, or I can even just go into my front yard and look at lizards and bugs,
Yeah.
something like that. It just kind of puts me back into, or I have three amazing Manx cats, and they are fabulous. They have no tails, and they're just perfect, perfect, perfect.
Love
Yeah.
kitties.
Yes, yes. And I think, because mine are Manx kitties and have no tails, except the mama kit. I have one mother Manx, and two of her kittens. And the Manx, who is the mom, she has a tail that's maybe an inch long, about the
Okay.
size of your thumb, a little shorter.
Right.
And her two
Thumbtail.
kittens, yeah, her two kittens that we adopted don't have any at all. And it's just a genetic thing.
Hmm.
Manx is a breed that is born without tails. So, and they look like little cat rabbits.
So I just want to point out that literally your routine is you lock yourself in the studio, you drive yourself back into the deep dark place, and then you go outside and touch grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really it. That,
You
that really is.
you
Yeah.
really you're a meme and it's lovely.
It's true.
Pet my cats and touch grass.
Hmm.
Wow.
And eat something delicious.
Eat something delicious.
Delicious.
I'm still staring at the shrimp cocktail. I haven't.
Like for me, I love Korean food. Korean food is I dream about kimchi jjigae sometimes. There is a restaurant
Ooh.
here in town. It's actually a good 40 minutes away from where I live. I live north of Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And if I go all the way down into Dallas, into Koreatown, there is my favorite restaurant in the world, which is Korea House. And they know me, and they bring me everything that I want without me even asking for it, with extra kimchi. And I love it. Love
That
it.
means they love you.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
They know my name, and they come over and they compliment my new wacky hairstyles, and they're just perfect. They're perfect, and it's food like your Korean grandmother would make. So it's the best thing in the world. You
Ah.
know.
That
anything
sounds.
that has like huge flavor.
Yeah.
I love huge flavor. Thai food is great. Indian food
I was
is
gonna say I'm
great.
a sucker for Indian food.
Yep. Yep.
I pretty much romanced my fiance over Indian food. So like,
It's good.
yeah,
You've got spice. You may as well use it.
yeah.
Use it.
Lose it.
Spoon it in. Spoon it in.
All right, so now I have a new goal in life. So now I want to create a compilation of all of the artists that I've interviewed on Subculture Talk, like writing songs about their favorite food.
Kimchi jjigae.
Yeah, let's just
Kimchi jjigae.
let's go. I bet I can get Ken Magerman on this one for certain.
Hey. Yep.
Yeah,
And
all right.
and he's a foodie as well.
Exactly.
I've seen him post just mouth-watering pictures, that are amazing. So.
I really think that, it's a damn shame that we don't all live next to each other, because otherwise I would host like a cooking with Pat 626 show where we could all just come in and like talk about music and make our favorite foods instead.
Recently, speaking of living next to each other, I just feel so disconnected because, we just had cold waves in Chicago. And again, I did not make it. I missed it.
I've still never gone.
It's just, the problem with cold waves in Chicago for me is that it falls every year right on my anniversary. And, my husband, I love my husband, but he is not in the same musical crowd as I. So
kidnapping him and taking him to cold waves would probably not go over well.
Well, he would be interested. I think he would be interested, but whether he would really, enjoy, the amount of time that I would be sitting talking with people that I know from online,
that makes
and
sense.
He wouldn't know any of them, and I would feel bad because, I don't want him to feel like a third wheel, just kind of like, oh yes, and by the way, here's my adoring, beautiful, wonderful husband, who I might say is Filipino, and they have delicious food as well.
Excellent.
Yes.
Now, man, it's a good thing I've got food in front of me. So I'm getting hungry here. So I hope it's okay if I kind of bomb you with a question here, because it's something that hasn't often come up on this show, but what you just said made me think about that. You are, I assume, happily married.
Yes.
But you're also
15 years.
15 years. Damn.
15 years.
Congratulations.
September 8th. Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So you're also you're a dedicated musician. You like me, your loving partner has allowed you to turn a part of the abode into a music room.
Yes.
Which, if you're watching, Jasper, thank you. So how do you do it? Because music can be so demanding. It can take so much of your time. If you don't, there are times where if you don't write down that melody or that lyric right now, if you don't spend hours upon the studios or in the studio, sometimes even forgetting to eat, the project will slip away from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you make that work with marriage?
We have. I used to. He works at Texas Instruments, and they have a compressed work week. He is in management.
Wait, like the calculator place?
Well, people always say the calculator place, but they don't really make the calculators anymore.
I know,
they
but I
know,
but I still treasure my TI-83 and my TI-82.
Yes, it is a massive company, and as a matter of fact, we have chips that were on the Mars rover and on that thing that we sent past Pluto a couple of years ago. So, I mean, they do, amazing things. And I actually used to work there too. I worked there for a long time. And I have to say, I really appreciate Texas Instruments for having funded, my first couple of albums and allowed me time off to go and do my recording. with Paul in Los Angeles and also in Minneapolis. Actually, he was in St. Paul when we recorded our first album.
Thanks,
So,
guys.
yeah, thanks. But I actually don't work for them anymore. I am, you know, free to do music pretty much all the time. And my husband still works there for the time being until he retires. And basically, whenever he goes to work, I have the studio all to myself, which is, pretty much for 3 and 4 days out of the week. So, you know, I see him when he comes home late at night, and he leaves early in the morning, and I don't see him for the entire day. And, sometimes because he has to go to bed early to get up early, I stay up all night working in the studio. So it works out pretty well. At least it has so far. And the studio is fairly soundproof, although I haven't put in any, egg crates or anything like that. It's just a lot of rugs. I have lots of rugs all over the walls and on the floor. So studio is upstairs, bedroom is downstairs, and in the other part of the house. So, yeah.
So it sounds like you find a way to make the schedules work so that each of you can have time, but also each of you can work on what you need to work on.
Right. Pretty much whenever he has days off, I don't write music. I spend that time with him, and we do things together as a couple. We travel. We like to take a lot of road trips, just driving around. And lately we've just been enamored with New Mexico and Colorado and Arizona, and just fabulous. We've also done, trips through the Blue Ridge Mountains, taking the Parkway, and just really nice looking at some stuff, especially because obviously, during the pandemic, you couldn't really go, very far. So one of my passions is travel. I have a degree in cultural geography and anthropology.
Ooh.
So, that's what I love to do, is just to go. And actually, the further away it is, the better it is for me. So, and that's another reason why, if there's something on the menu that I don't know what it is or I can't pronounce it, that's what I'm going to order, because you might be missing out on something if you don't try it. So
see, people in my family, we always just ordered things we hadn't eaten before because we were looking for the dish that was going to kill us.
Well,
that's what my mom always said anyway, but I think my mom also had depression.
Speaking of the dish that will kill you, I have become an honorary Filipino. And the reason I say that is because I have eaten balut. And it did not kill me, but I did eat it. As it was an honorary thing. I did that to really be a member of the family. So, that's part of the, you have to do that if you want to be.
If you want to marry into the family, you got to.
That's right.
Yep,
you really have to.
Required.
They're gonna get the fertilized duck egg. They're gonna bring it to you, and they're gonna say, "Here you go. Put some vinegar on it." Yeah.
I do love vinegar.
Yeah. I have to say, it wasn't the most horrible flavor, but the texture was really
difficult. Okay.
Texture was very hard.
I'll keep that in mind.
You don't want to look at it either.
Don't look at it.
It's like a bag of pus. It's really.
I am no longer happy I have food in front of me.
Feathers and a beak. A little bag of pus. That tastes like roasted duck. Yeah. Yum.
Well,
yeah.
that is a place that I never saw this interview going.
No.
There we go.
No. Happy to bring you there.
Welcome to Subculture Talk, folks. So, Cat, say that I'm watching this interview and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've loved listening to the music that's been in the background. How do I find your stuff online? Where are you?
I am at dissonanceband.bandcamp.com. There you can get 90% of all of my albums. There is one album that is not there because I worked very briefly for a different record label, Nilaya Records. So if you want that second album, which is Reincarnate, you'll have to go to Amazon.com and look up Dissonance Reincarnate.
Okay.
They have copies of it that they will print, so you could actually get a real CD, or you can get it on MP3. The other place that I have music is cathall.bandcamp.com. And that's a small solo project. Well, it's not really a solo project. It's a collaboration that I did with Paul Robb. So all of the music is Paul, and all of the vocals are me. And it's a little bit more aggressive than Dissonance, or most Dissonance. We were trying something new, and it was really started out as just a kind of a demo thing. I think we did it in 1998.
Oof.
But it didn't actually see the light of day or get published until 2016, I think. I think it was 2015 or 2016, whenever it got loaded up onto Bandcamp. So that's where that is. Although one of the songs did get put on a Think Tank album for Paul. So, yeah.
Well, neat.
Nifty.
I ended with neat. I started with neat. I'm going to end with neat. So... And any videos out there?
I don't have any new videos. We have most of the videos that we have a YouTube channel. If you just do a search on Cat Hall of Dissonance on YouTube, you'll find it.
Okay.
And there are a few videos up there. I've got a video that I did with Kurt Larson for Poison Kiss, which was a single off of Ascent.
Yep.
That's out there. There's several others. We have yet to work on videos for the new album, so there may be something forthcoming there. Jimmy, we need to do a video.
Jimmy, if you're listening,
yes,
make a video. All right. Well, was there anything else that you wanted to leave us with?
Buy my albums. I need money so I can buy cat food and Korean food.
Well, which is also food for you, so it also counts as cat food.
That's true, because I am cat.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
a
not
joke
a cat, but I'm cat. Yeah.
That's a series of jokes that's never going to get old.
My first cat was named Cat, so she was Cat's cat.
What?
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yep. It's amazing.
I bet she was cute as a button, too.
She was beautiful. I had her for 18 years.
Precious. Mm-hmm. Well, so thank you very much for joining me. I did want to mention, for those of you that didn't catch the little beginning, this stream was presented by EBM Worldwide, which is a global goth industrial events sponsor, Twitch TV event organizer, and social causes donor mobilizer. You can find out more on Instagram, Twitch, and Facebook. It's all there at EBM Worldwide. Search on any of those sites. And there's even a Discord, discord.io/EBM Worldwide. And if you're watching live, starting tomorrow, there's going to be an EBM Worldwide fundraiser for DJ Noise Shock, which I'm going to be a part of, as are a bunch of people, because it's 3 days worth of DJs raising money so that DJ Noise Shock can get a kidney transplant.
Oh,
so yeah, definitely. Make sure you tune in for the fun and donate if you can. And so if you are watching live, up next is the after party, where I'm gonna start with a song from Dissonance and then just do an unplanned, completely pulling stuff out of my butt mix show, beat matched, and all sorts of weird things happening. And if you're watching on YouTube, well, you've just been told that there are Dissonance videos. You can also go to Dissonance's Bandcamp and listen to and buy some music. So get on it. Kat, thank you very much for joining me this evening.
Thank you so much, Pat. It's always a pleasure.
It was my pleasure. Take care.